One of the funnest parts of our business is making something and creating something, not just buying something that someone else has created and reselling it to create a project. So we're really grateful to have you here today. This is the last of our masterclass series for the year. And if you haven't been to any of the other ones this year, we started them 2 months ago, twice a week. And they're all online. If you go to our website, there's a button on the front page that will bring you right to the YouTube videos for each class. So if there's a class that you'd like to see that you haven't seen and learn about, that's an easy way to learn, to take a look and learn something that maybe you didn't know about. Today, this one's going to be videoed as well, so if you have anybody at home that you think would be of benefit for them to learn a little bit about what you've seen today, encourage you to pass that information on to them as well. Not going to really talk about much else. I'm just going to introduce the speaker for today. My son David has been working with me on and off. Here he is. I look a little bit alike. He's just taller. So he's been here since he was basically in high school on and off, and then college, and he started actually in the stone shop in high school and college, and he's had numerous different positions here, including in the transportation department, city desk supervisor, yard lead. He's been in various different capacities and has been managing our cut stone shop for the last couple of years, and as such has been really has hands-on knowledge of everything that we're going to be talking about today. So with that, just turn it over to you, David, and we're really looking forward to learning more about your area.
Like you were saying, I've kind of been working here off and on pretty much my whole adult career kind of deal. This is really the only career that I think I've had. I've had a lot of other jobs, stocking guys, rolling things up, things like that. But stone has always been something that's just easy and natural, makes sense. I mean, it's either, especially for fabrication, it's either correct or it's not. I mean, there's no like good enough or wiggle room kind of thing. It's just black and white. I kind of prefer that kind of deal. So my first job at Hedberg was actually in Farmington when I was 13. My brother had just turned 16 and needed some gas money kind of deal. So he was going to work, I was going to work kind of deal. So we were picking up trash and stacking pallets kind of deal in the yard, cleaning things up. And then through high school I started in the stone shop for junior and senior year during the summer, working and stuff before I went off to college at Regis University in Denver, Colorado. And then kind of took a year and moved up to Breckenridge, tried to be a ski bum for a little bit, which was very nice. But again, just working and living and not really progressing, right, kind of thing. So ended up moving back here and started full time. I think at City Desk, right? City Desk position, point of sales, helping customers, and then into the yard, more operations, loading customers, pulling product, and then kind of running people, making sure that folks showed up on time, that they were doing the right thing, that the product's right, inspecting tickets, things like that, and adjusting inventory. I moved into then dispatch and purchasing for almost a year, about a full year back there, to get some of that knowledge. Dispatch has got to be my least favorite thing. You create a plan, and as soon as the phone rings, that plan is done, and you got to roll with whatever's coming at you, kind of thing. So I found that to be a bit of a challenge, especially when I spend an hour or so at the end of each day getting the next day ready, and then you show up the next day and it's done. It was just a waste of time, kind of thing. So
That was my favorite job.
yeah, that was also his favorite, was dispatching the trucks.
Make the miracle happen.
Yeah, kind of deal. It was very challenging though for that. So then, was it 3 seasons ago now? I was asked to come back to the fabrication shop to kind of oversee the sales and the actual production of things, kind of thing. So been doing that, and then for about a year now, have been really kind of officially the manager back there. We did have some turnover this last year, and we've been hiring new people. We've got a new crew, which is Eric and Barron, two gentlemen back there. They'll help us out with some of the tour and the demo later on today and stuff. But between the three of us, we'll just make anything that you want, essentially. The fabrication can really be as complicated or as simple as you want things to be. So today's overview, we're going to talk about different stock slabs that we have here in Plymouth in the yard. We'll talk about the different types of uses for fabricated stone. Why do we cut stone? Why are we shaping it? What are we doing with it? And then Hedberg and Quarry Direct. So those are two different things. Yes, we do have some limitations as to what we can do. We try to do everything, or we certainly can supply you with everything that's out there. But we want to talk about those differences as to what we can accomplish or what we can order in and just have done for you, kind of thing. So we will talk about the new thin cutting. We just purchased a new saw this year back there. So we'll talk a little bit about what those capabilities are. That's for kind of stone veneer, brick, block, pavers that you want thin. So a lot of different possibilities with that. Kind of opens us up to a whole new fabrication side almost. We're mainly into caps and hearths and sills and cutting slabs, but this is a whole new kind of a ball game where people can bring in whatever they want cut down and we can do it. So it really opens up the capabilities. We will talk about a little bit about custom engraving. We did just create a new website for address stones, small rock engraving, and boulder mock-ups. So we'll actually show you the website a little bit on there too. And then we'll end with a little shop tour and do a little hands-on demo. We set up some pieces to chisel on, or if you want to try to put a bevel on something. We got some brick there. We'll run the new saw, kind of feed some brick through so you can see what that's all about. And then just show you what we can do with cutting different materials. So we cut porcelain, we cut stone, we cut concrete, so there's different things to cutting all those. It's not just changing out the blade. Sometimes it's a whole new machine kind of deal. So we want to kind of do that. And then I think at that point I'll hand you over to Joe, who's our showroom manager here, and he'll take you on the showroom tour and kind of show you what this is all about here. So let's get into it here. The different stone types that we stock here. So we've got slabs in all these stone types. So Indiana limestone, Minnesota dolomite, New York bluestone, the brown wave, which is a sandstone, the Alabama shadow vein, smoke fog, and then Brentwood, and we do have some dark gray granite as well out there in 2-inch and 3-inch thicknesses. So the first one there is the Indiana limestone, and so that is each window in the showroom. I'm sure Joe will show you this, but it has a different stock slab, so you can kind of take a look at the actual stone, the different finishes that are on there, and get a sense of it. I'll try to show you a lot of pictures, but it's always good to put hands on it, I think. So these are kind of gray to silver gray in color, kind of a neutral color, which is why I think it's one of the most used for design-wise. It kind of goes with a variety of products. It's like I said, a neutral color. So we stock these in 1.5 inch, 2 1/4, 4-inch, and 6-inch thicknesses. Slabs are typically like 96 by 48 wide. And then we also stock already pre-made hearths and sills down at the masonry warehouse in a 2 1/4 thickness. So those are like 3-inch and 4-inch depths. Those are 4-footers, 5, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16 are 8-footers, and then there's 20 and 24-inch for the stock hearths there. So picture on the right is just some of the stock materials that we have sitting there ready to go. So you don't always need to wait for us to cut something. Sometimes we can grab a piece, make one little cut to get it to the right length, and go install it. The next one there would be the Minnesota dolomite, or Kasota stone, as it's called. That one is kind of yellow to golden in color. The difference and why it's yellow is essentially there's more magnesium found in that limestone, which changes the color a little bit there. So we stock 2 1/6 inch, 4 inch, and 6 inch thicknesses in the dolomite slabs. Because of that magnesium and the change of minerals in there, you will see a lot of quartz pits, geoholes, little things like that. Even the 3 veneers up top there that are sawn, you'll see little pits in the sides, little geoholes, things like that. That's just kind of typical for the material. So we kind of want to show that to people up front. And one of the popular deals that it was used for is the cladding on target field. If you're ever down there watching a baseball game and you notice the big yellow sheets of stone on the walls, that's what that is. So, the next one we'll go into is Alabama Shadow Vein. I'm pretty excited about this one because just yesterday I found out it's going to be right around the same price as the Indiana. So they're dropping their price this year, and I have a feeling this will be a lot more popular. So it's very similar to Indiana. It's a little lighter in color, kind of almost like a whiter stone with dark veining running across it and some speckling. You'll definitely get a lot of seashells in this stone, which is very prevalent when you're polishing it. You can definitely see all that kind of popping out, which is really cool, I think, but some people want a more plain stone. So, and then we only stock this in a 2 1/4 thickness there. So, the next one is the Smoked Fog, and so that is more darker color with some black speckling, black veining. This one, we've seen a lot of fossils in there. So seashell fossils that are kind of swirls, or like almost like a big swirl kind of fossil in there. You'll see large chunks of white and clear kind of quartz, little pits, things like that. So those are all part of the natural stone. Some people like that in there, some people don't. So depending on what it is, we try to almost cut around some of the imperfections, or if they wanted something that's more plain, let us know. We'll try to do the best we can. So I believe those are all the different limestones that we have. The next one here is New York Bluestone, which is a sandstone. So that is blue to almost like a dark green in color. And that may include some black speckling as well. We stock those in a 2 1/4 inch slab. What's nice about the bluestone is not only do we stock slabs for caps and hearths and sills, but we also stock 2 inch treads down at the landscape yard for stair treads, if you wanted to cap that. And we also stock 6 inch step units, kind of deal in 3 and 4 foot lengths. And then as well, we have a 1 1/4 inch cutting pattern, and then there's a ranged one, a little natural clef top that has like a 3/4 inch to 1.5 inch range. So you can use bluestone for your patio. You could then cap the wall that's next to it in bluestone. You could then put sills on the house in bluestone. You could build walkway down to the lake, steps of bluestone. I mean, it's all, you can use that stone in quite a different variety of applications. So that's kind of a neat part about that. And then the same thing is true with the brown wave, which is a sandstone as well. So that's kind of a brown, almost purpley, reddish color. That does have veining and seams running through it. We stock those in a 2 inch slab, but also in the 1 1/4 inch cutting pattern. I believe just for this year, I want to say the cutting pattern might be going away, depending on that. I've seen limited quantities kind of in parentheses around that. So I know we have it right now. I know we got it in stock. If you want it, hey, let's get it delivered. And just quick, today is the last day of before road postings for the Minnesota MDOT kind of thing. So if you need loads or anything, we could try to get it out there today, or we'll load you up right now and kind of thing. So, but just to know that you can use it in many different applications on the same process. If you want the same stone, even from exterior all the way into interior kind of thing. So, and then we do have the Brentwood sandstone, which is most everyone's favorite. It's very pretty. It comes in with a polished top, and those are kind of tanned, dark brown in color. As you can see, they're quite different, slab to slab. Each piece is pretty unique. So we do prefer that a customer come and actually pick the slab and kind of talk about where we want to cut it out of there. And if they want to try to cut just the middle out, well, they might be paying for the whole slab kind of thing, you know. Or if they want to cut just the top, then they're just paying for that piece that they want to order kind of deal. So heavy in veining on those. It comes with the polished top, and we stock it in actually 2-inch and 1.25-inch thickness. And they do offer this in a cut and pattern flagstone as well. We don't stock the cut and pattern flagstone, but it is available to bring in. It's pretty nice actually looking stuff. Each piece is just so unique and different, and if you seal that and really make it shine, it makes an impact kind of thing in your room. So
what's the finish on the cut and pattern?
I believe it's just sanded. It's just honed down.
Okay.
Yeah. And then you can seal it and really make it shine kind of thing. So those are kind of the different slabs that we stock. Now, there's other things out there, right? There's a lot of different stones out there. We can certainly get any kind of different stone that you want. But I want to talk about what we can do and what we can't do and why with those stones that we stock here. So let's just talk about the main difference between these two stones. So both of them are sedimentary stones, right? They're layers of material compacted with pressure and time kind of deal. So limestone is being defined as composed of calcium carbonate, which is plants, animals, the breakdown of seashells, of organisms, plant life, things like that, compressed over time. So I kind of think of like an ocean floor, that things are falling to the bottom over time, a lot of time. The crabs are there or whatever, they're dying. Things are all getting compressed together into like blocks of stone over time. So that is softer and less dense. Sandstone is also sedimentary, right? It's made up of different sand debris, essentially, different materials and minerals. So I think of almost like a hillside eroding away, and the river down below is catching that silt, that excess debris, and it's packing, and over time, again, with pressure and time, we're packing to stone kind of thing. So you'll see that those are harder and more dense, specifically because what's left in the erosion process is probably the hardest minerals in that stone. The softest minerals are probably eroded away in dust and they're gone kind of thing. So it is harder and more dense, harder to cut, but you can do other things to sandstone that you can't do to limestone. And that is because it contains the silica, essentially, from feldspar or quartz or different minerals make up that contains high levels of silica. So what does silica do? I mean, why does that matter, right? So essentially it matters when you're trying to do finishing and texturing. The sandstone, like granites, will react to heat. They will beat up sometimes, almost like you're making glass. Whereas limestone, it's not going to do anything. You're going to put heat to it, it's going to heat up in one spot, and then all of a sudden crack or pop where you don't want it to, kind of thing. Almost like if you've been sitting around a fire pit and you got some chunks of stone or boulders or something, all of a sudden one pops, you know, kind of thing. Well, that just got too hot for too long, and it eventually gave way, kind of thing. So the granites and the sandstone we can put heat to, which means we can thermal it and give it kind of a roughed texture. A lot of stones come in that way. This is important for pool decks, treads, any slippery surfaces that you're going to be walking on and stuff. We try to give it a rougher texture so that you actually have some traction on that. So we'll talk about what are we doing with all this stone? Why are we cutting it? what are we shaping it? What's going on with all this, right? So the many uses of different stones. So it could be a plain Jane bench, or it could be, you know, capping of a wall that's a curved, fire pit rings, whether they're square or round, fancy sills around the side, or just a regular sill, a sill with just a wash on it, kind of thing. So we'll talk a little bit about the different products that we can make here. So the first thing was just landscape benches. They can be as simple or as complicated as you want. The one on the bottom there, that's simply a step. We took a step out of inventory, cut some wall stone, and made legs. Boom, we got a bench. But not hard, not expensive, right? Quick. The one on top there, where we made a more contemporary style, we took a piece of cape stone and stood it up, cut the bottom off so that it stood upright, and then put a notch in it. We got a piece of granite to slide into that notch to give it a little different look, different appeal kind of thing. And then the one on the left here was a customer project that they've got some of these moss boulders and a couple pieces of granite out of the clearance area, and they wanted to make kind of a bench kind of deal. So we just essentially made this little notch in each one and just slid them in there, and boom, there you go. All you're paying for really is the material and then, you know, a few cuts kind of thing. So things can be as simple or as complicated as you want them to be. You know, a bench could even just be an outcropping. You know, just a nice outcropping with a flat top. You know, you don't even have to cut it or do anything. You know, kind of thing. So, but there's different styles. There's different design avenues that people want to follow. Specifically, people with Zen gardens seem to want more complicated, almost like the contemporary one on the top there. They would rather have something a little more built up, or they would rather have something that blends in completely to the surrounding rocks and trees and things like that. So just really depends on what you want and what you're willing to spend. So fire pit walls and cap walls. The one on the right, they did a sunken-in fire pit kind of deal with a fire pit square on the top and then bluestone caps on the outside. They're going to definitely need a sump pump or some drainage in that, or they're going to have a little hot tub going or too long. And then just some other fire pits, so we can do, you know, either squares, we can do rings, we could do, this is a fire table that we just simply cut out the middle of a piece to do insert a burner kind of coming up. So different ideas based on whatever you want to do. Then we get into a little more of the complicated stuff. So railings and balusters. We do have a couple examples right there, the balusters of different stone types. So each one of these is essentially different stone, and then we've got, I think, a 3-foot cap going across the top there for the railings kind of deal. So I think that looks quite nice. I believe this was a historic home, which is why they needed that to be stone instead of putting up metal or something cheap and quick and kind of deal. So I think they look quite nice. And we did a home actually with some of these balusters a couple of years ago that turned out very nice. And then we'll talk about fireplace surrounds. So this is kind of where we get into, well, what can we do and what can the quarry do? Because we have certain limitations based on the little details in the edges that people want. So kind of starting on the left here, some straight pieces with a bevel on the inside and the outside. These corners are going to be mitered. That's one of our Achilles heels there, is folks want more of a profiled line with an inside corner to be shaved down. Well, you kind of need like a CNC router to be able to do that inside corner nice and cleanly. So when people are looking for fireplaces, surrounds and stuff, we can do the fancy edges. We can do the profiles, the washes, but we can't do really that inside corner nice and clean. So what we do is just cut it at a 45. We make a top piece and 2 legs to miter those corners together. That's kind of how we're able to to do those fancy surrounds. The one in the middle is actually a bunch of little individual pieces that have been rock faced and then put together. We had a template laid out for that, to do that, and that's 6-inch thick material that we chiseled the face off of. Any questions on that as far as the difference there between those inside corners and just miter cutting the
But if a
corners?
customer wants that fancy where you need a CNC, we just send it to the quarry. The quarry cuts it for us and sends it back.
Absolutely,
For a customer.
yep. We just get a quote from the quarry, give you the quote, you want it or not. The biggest thing about the quarry stuff is the lead times. It's not necessarily the price. The price might be just the same, but instead of us cutting it in a week, you're talking more like 3 to 4 weeks to get it in, kind of thing. So that seems to be the biggest hiccup in the quarry ordering deal, because folks usually wait until the last thing they're doing is installing a hearth or a surround or things like that. So, and they always wait until they need it to order it, kind of thing. Well, if you're doing that, in 4 weeks isn't going to work, right? It's not going to work at all. So yeah, thank you, Tom. That is one difference, is the lead times. But we certainly can provide it if you wanted that inside corner. But that is going to be the difference. It's not something that we're going to be able to produce in-house. Then we'll talk a little bit about hearths and mantles kind of pieces. So we can do all sorts of notches. If you want us to cut in, a little notch here, notch there, no problem. We just need either very accurate measurements or a template. Templates are really only required when we're doing a radiused front. We want to know what that curve is. If you give us measurements, even if you give us measurements, I've done some where you go, well, 12 inches in, 2 inches up. 36 inches in is 4 inches up. Try to make that curve. But it still, for some reason, doesn't seem to line up with the wood. Once they have it all framed and stuff and you go to slide it in and that curve isn't quite right, then finger pointing, who's redoing it, who's paying for it, all that stuff. So we just want to make sure we get it right the first time, so we ask for templates on the curved pieces. But simply he's putting the hearthstone in. One thing to note here is a little difference in color between the 6-inch and the 2 1/4 slabs. They don't always cut them from the same block of stone, so there might be a little variation in color. The one on the bottom, though, isn't quite dry yet. As you see, this corner is pretty much the only part that's drying out right yet. That's still kind of wet, so that will actually lighten up and match that. Then the one all the way on the right, we did a wraparound 6-inch mantle to go right around the whole fireplace kind of thing. So we just cut the back and notched the back out for that one. So yeah, pretty easy stuff. It's just whatever you guys want us to do for you. So we do make, in an industry that takes things out of the ground, it's kind of hard to be eco-friendly and green. But we try the best we can with certain things. So one of the things we do is make additional products via like the scrap that is come out. So some of the things that we created were candle holders, natural stone coasters. We did wine racks, outlet boxes and light boxes. We've made little tables, and then we certainly drill columns and boulders for bubbling fountains and landscape kind of art, things like that too. So, one of the cool things that I've seen with the wine racks in particular is a customer, landscape customer, gave wine racks away as kind of a gift at the end of their project. They say they made a patio and a wall and stuff. They also gave them, hey, here's a cool stone wine rack as just kind of a thank you as part of a wrap-up of the project, which is kind of the coolest thing I've seen as far as just giving a, thanks for the project, here's kind of a cool accessory piece you can use for your patio deal. So we'll talk a little bit about the saw. When we talk about profiling, what does that exactly mean? So there's a few reasons to profile stuff. The one on the left here was 6-inch thick material that they wanted 5.5 inch on the back, and 5" on the front. So it has a little wash for the watershed. So we set up the slab and ran it back and forth to make those pieces washed out right, kind of thing. The one in the middle here, we did some goofy designs and a step down to kind of show some of those capabilities. Essentially, we just create in AutoCAD a 2D side rendering of what kind of shapes we want it to make, and plug it into the saw, and away we go. The third reason we would profile is to get something flat or to make it all thinner. So we've got a lot of 2 1/4 inch material, but what if I needed an 1.5 inch? Well, we can do that, depending on the size. As long as it's not a huge piece, we typically don't want to go less than 1 inch for larger pieces. But no big deal. As you can see, we put it up there, run the saw back and forth, and just shave it down to whatever thickness you need, whether it's 1.5 inches or 1 3/4, or it really doesn't matter to us. So it's all the same work and the same cost so it goes into it. So we'll jump back a little bit and talk about that quarry versus in-house fabrication. So what are the reasons we would go to the quarry? Well, one of the reasons is we don't have the material. We don't have that kind of material, right? We don't have everything under the sun here. If it's in a different thickness, we recently ordered in a project of 4-inch smoked fog for a customer, because we have 2 1/4, but we don't have the 4-inch. Most people don't like you gluing stones together. That's just not going to work, right? And then dimensions. So if they're looking for something that's like 13 feet long, well, we probably don't have a slab that's 13 feet long, but the quarry might be able to produce one, kind of thing. They would actually just kind of custom cut something that large for that project. And then the texturing. So we can do most of the basic texturing. There's 2 of them that I'm thinking of, which is bush hammering. It's almost like an air impact hammer with a little thing that just kind of hits the surface and gives it little impact dots kind of all over. It's just a texturing deal. We don't have a machine for that. I don't think we're ever probably going to get that. It's just not many people ask for it. It's kind of different. So those are things that are kind of outside of our norm and what we can do. And then capabilities. If it's outside of, so the inside detailed corners, that's one of our Achilles heels, and then twists in stone. So if you have a railing, almost like this railing here, that goes up and twists, and you want to cap that in stone, well, we're essentially maybe even have to go 3D laser measure that, get those accurate measurements over to the quarry, and have them produce that sort of thing. So, and then who are we talking about when we're talking about the quarry? Where can we get things from, right? So we partner with Beagle Stone on a lot of landscape masonry products, slabs, and they can do custom fabrication as well. Indiana Limestone Company, that's mainly where we buy all our Indiana limestone slabs from, and stock products. Hallquist Stone, again, products and fabrication. Kurkowski, they have more sandstone and a stone called Aqua Grantique, which is actually one of my favorites. It's very dense, very hard. It's like black with a green kind of veining running through it. We do have brochures as well of all of these guys just sitting up on the desk there. In case you're interested, take a look at the slabs, products, in case you haven't heard of any of these people before. And then Semco Stone, they provide products and slabs, veneer as well. And then Cold Spring Granite, which we can definitely get. I want to say they got 40 different kinds of granite and all sorts of different colors. They can cut and get us whatever we need there, kind of thing. The one person I left off here is MSI. They are actually just next door here, and they've got a whole warehouse of slabs from around the world. I mean, you're talking Turkey and Brazil, China. I mean, they got beautiful marbles and things over there too. And so they don't sell to the public, unfortunately. So if you're interested in something like that, we can definitely go over there, pick a slab. We'll talk about how we want to cut it, we'll buy it, cut it for you, and get you the final pieces kind of thing. So they've got almost too much over there to really look at. Quite a few options kind of thing. But so those are the folks that we can certainly get bids from and move forward. So we bought a new Park Industries Whisper saw. So it's a thin veneer saw that we're going to be using for cutting brick, blocks, pavers, stone, pretty much whatever you want to cut. We now have blades for all of those things too. So we got a granite blade, we've got a concrete blade, and a soft stone brick blade that we can put on there, exchange it out. Pretty awesome saw. It is operated by this little computer here, and you essentially get a pallet on the front, start feeding things through the conveyor belt. Your waste will drop down here and come back and go into the rubble bin, and your good products come down and are able to be packaged. In addition to the new saw, we also bought a drying conveyor belt with 3 fans on the top, so we can put that right in line here, essentially right next to the waste conveyor, and we can put good products onto the drying conveyor to then package on the other end. Brick in particular, we've heard that people want no slurry on the back, they want it washed, they want it, in weather like this, they want it dry so that they don't get a frozen cube of thin brick that they can't get apart without breaking them all, So this has made things so much faster and easier, it's not even funny. We did a project last year cutting 15,000 brick, and we stood there for a month on 3 different saws chopping brick all day, and it was terrible. I mean, our first project with this was three pallets and change. That would have normally taken maybe 2 days, 3 days to cut. It took us 3 hours. We just pumped it all through and got it done. So we will actually go back, take a look at it, and do a run. We'll do a little demo. I'll show you what it's all about there too. So one of the things with the thin cutting is that we can cut stone, brick, block, pavers. Doesn't really matter to me. We can cut essentially 2 to 12 inch tall material, and we have an option of going to 16 inch tall. We'd have to take a piece off the saw and potentially get a new blade to do kind of jumpers, to do bigger pieces like that. And then we can cut a 1/2 inch to 4 inch thickness on those deals. So mostly we're doing flat faces, and we're doing 90-degree cut corners that we can provide on those. Now what we've heard and what we've seen now is that it's been recommended to us to send sandstone through the saw to resharpen the blade and to get things kind of back to where you want it to go. So one of the product lines we started creating is New York Bluestone Thin Brick. So we wanted to essentially shave down all the scraps that we have and the waste product and do something with it. We made a pretty cool product, I think, and we're sharpening our blades, and it's all kind of working out together kind of thing. So these are typically 1/2 inch thick, 2 to 2 1/4 tall, so there is a variance there, which is important to note. Most people want brick to be all the same, and they want tight joints and nothing to be goofy. We will show you some of these display boards back in the other room there of the brick that we've made. And then it can be used with or without sealer. I think with sealer is nice. The sealer really just is kind of an enhancer, right? It brings out all those natural colors, the natural veins, the things that you like to see in there, so a little more character in that. So we just wanted to make sure that you're aware that, hey, we're going to be creating these, we're going to be stocking, I think at least a couple crates of the thin brick at a time. We do not have 90-degree corners for the brick. That's something that we are trying to possibly create. But for right now, we're talking about finger lapping or mitering the corner, or different ways to kind of get around that corner right now. So that's the little gist about the thin cutting. We'll talk a little bit about custom engraving and what we can do here. So it's just that simple. I mean, you're just standing there chiseling away, right? And getting it right. It's like a typewriter. You make one mistake and oh, here we got to start over. You know? So we do a lot of different engraving, mostly on boulders, address stones, pet memorials, architectural accents I've seen more and more. So like you put a plain sill in the wall, but you have somebody come and do like a vine design or some flower design or something to just kind of make it pop. I've seen that in some of the higher end homes. And then personalization of stuff, you can always put your name on something if you want. And then the pricing is really based on what we're doing, how large it is. Is it have a lot of images? Is it complicated? Or is it pretty straightforward kind of deal? So we'll talk a little bit about the monument and community signs. So we've done a few like neighborhood signs. How's it going?
Good.
Come on in. Want you grab a donut or something? No. Well, so we do. We're just talking a little bit about engraving, kind of right now. So we do different community signs, neighborhood signs, monuments. We do a few every year of the bigger stuff. We do a lot of boulder engraving every year. So that could be a simple number for an address at the end of your driveway. That could be pictures or texts, or a lot of the time it ends up being like pet memorials, things like that. So we'll just kind of go through some of the things that we've seen and that we've done. This is at Cornerstone Ranch. I just kind of stole this from Beagle's website. I thought it was very nice. So they've got a big block of bluestone in the corner of the building there, where they had it engraved, essentially established 2016, and then Peter 26 on the side. I really like this. However, if it's actually a cornerstone, it should be on the ground, not in the middle of the wall. I'm just being picky, but that's that. So and then down the wall from this, so down to the left here, there is a horse that they did in the wall. That's pretty, I don't know, interesting, a little detail, something totally different, unique. Nobody else is going to have that, right? I mean, kind of different. So, and then you can see that block actually down here. So that's where the cornerstone is there on the wall. So it's really up to you what you want. I mean, it's very customizable. You could create your own pictures. You could grab pictures offline. You could, I mean, create something in Word, or we can pretty much do any font in Word. Sizing doesn't really matter. It's all just based on finding the right layout for the right stone kind of thing. So we'll jump back into some of the stuff we've done, which this one on the left, I don't know if you can read all this, but this is for Jacob Wetterling Memorial. We actually donated this rock and piece of capestone and engraving for that memorial. And I believe the guys, Jacob, had a list of, I think, 12 or 13, 11 maybe, things for life kind of deal. It was kind of an inspirational piece to work on. So, and then we do a lot of address stones, different. You need a limestone, bluestone, dolomite. Doesn't really matter. Again, it's all very customizable, whatever you guys want. With a border, without a border, different sizing, and then different fonts. And then a couple boulders we did last year actually. They're just regular numbers, you know, just on the end of the driveway in front of the house, just for the postman kind of thing, or pizza delivery guys. But I think that looks pretty nice as well. So, talk a little bit about how do we do this? How does this process even work? So most of our engraving is done via sandblasting process. We did partner with a gentleman that has a laser machine for engraving, and I'll kind of show you some of the little differences. I think it's the last slide has got one that has some stuff done with the laser machine. But one of the big differences is the depth. So these are pretty pronounced. I mean, you're kind of blasting in with sand to get maybe a quarter or half-inch in to that piece kind of deal. The other thing with the lasers is it's kind of burning the top, almost speckling it off where it's not very deep. It doesn't go very, it's just pretty flush to the actual original piece. What's nice about that, I've seen successful shading, so like black, white, gray shading of a picture with the laser machine that has turned out very detailed and very nice. That's not something that we could do with a sandblasting unless we wanted to shade the color that we're painting, kind of thing. So different machines have different capabilities, right? So just as far as mock-up goes, for this little piece of stone, he just brought it in. This was for his cabin, I believe. He wanted a piece at the end of the driveway with the last name on it. So we just put a little business card or a dollar bill and took a picture on there to get the sizing and the scaling right. We then do a little mock-up to make sure that we know what size we want to blast stuff. Send it to you. Hey, does it look good? Do you want to change anything? You guys approve it. Send it back. We get it done for you. This is our new website that we created this year. We wanted to make things easy and to put a picture to what you're actually doing. So this is completely customizable. Everything on here is customizable. So you'll see there's 4 sections on here. Address stones, small rock, flagstone, and boulders. So for address stones and small rocks, you can actually go on there, play with it, plug in what numbers you want, what font, what size, what color, and actually just buy it right off the website if you wanted to do that route. Same thing with the small rocks. When we get into the flagstone and the boulders, things really kind of depend on the piece. So do you have the piece already? Do we need to find the piece? Most of the material is sold by the weight, so it's going to depend on what you pick, what we're engraving, kind of things. So we've put these 2 categories on here to actually accept mock-ups and design ideas. So these will come to myself and Elizabeth, who's right there, and you can email us the design ideas or mock-ups or pictures or whatever you want to do, and we'll work with you finding the right materials and getting it done, kind of thing. So just wanted to show you a little bit about it. Let's click into the address stones. And then we should be able to find a whole bunch of different options below. So there's 60 different options here. These are essentially different sizes, different borders there. You can go to the next one, you'll find different stone types. We should, right? What's on the next one? I'm going to really put this to the test here. So say we want this one. Let's click in on that. And so our number is going to be, I don't know, 1540, something like that. So that'll pop up on there. Or you could change it, you know what, I want 1548. You know, for some reason, I'm planning on moving, kind of thing. So you can totally change it on there. We can scale things up and down as far as the text size goes. Or we could change the fonts. There's a few popular font options on here. Scroll down. So Times New Roman, if you wanted to change that. We're going to something a little more Gothic. The Baskerville, I think, is one of my favorites, just because of the goofy lines. So you can just, you know, populate it, kind of zoom in, shows you exactly what you'll be getting, kind of thing. So, and then text color, they've got green, burgundy, and then white, as well as the standard black there. So just wanted to show you that it's totally.
What's the difference between text size and number height?
So text size, number height is typically 4-inch or greater for emergency services. You need the fire truck or somebody to be able to see the numbers on the home, kind of thing. That's code to be at least 4 inches tall. So the text size is really for the engraving part. When we go to plug that into Adobe, essentially to do the mock-ups, that's the number that we're going to be using, kind of thing. So that'll change based on the scaling of how big you want things. So you could essentially, if you didn't want to deal with us, you could sit at home and order an address stone, or, oh, I forgot to do that, I need that real quick. We get these emails immediately. If we're sitting at home at night, we'll turn it around the next day, enter it in, and make sure you're getting your order in time. The other thing is, on this, we've got zip codes for estimated shipping. So if you want us to just ship it right to you, we could certainly do that too, once it's done. So I think it's pretty neat to be able to go in and actually play around with it. If you want a fancy border, straight border, no border, what kind of stone, you know, what kind of font, things like that. So
Does the border change with the text color, or does that stay black?
correct, it will change. Yep. Yep. I think we've got a couple other slides to go here. So the process, what does it take, and what is good and bad engraving kind of thing. So good engraving to us is the cleanliness of how detailed it is. If this piece comes a little loose because the adhesive wore off, and then you got blasting into the number or something like that, or it could have a goofy wave, you want to make sure that it's nice and clean engraving. So that being said, we try to find rocks that are, and stones that are not necessarily more flat, but definitely more smooth. So you see this is kind of wavy, goes in and up, you know, up and down, but it's pretty darn smooth. I mean, those numbers are on there nice and tight, and that way when we blast it out, it'll be nice and clean in the end there. So a couple of things that we've done, some address stone, and then we did for a professor that was retiring, he would give little gratitude rocks to his students when they did something nice or something above the norm. So his students pooled money together and got him a big boulder for his house that says gratitude. Right? So I thought that was pretty nice. And then last deal, so this picture actually is important because this is the laser engraving. So it doesn't get as deep, it kind of burns the top surface a little bit. It's more for glass and metal really than stone, but it can be used on stone kind of thing. So.
Are there limitations to what kind of stone you can use that with? Like, will it work with the limestone, since it's heat, basically?
Right, so like I said, it kind of burns it. It doesn't really get down deep. It's not as nice of a finished engraving. But if you're using, so like this here is, you can see the T as it goes around the curve of the stone, right? But if that were a little deeper, I mean, you could turn the stone to the side and be able to see it, I think so. It's just little differences, minute differences on there.
You know, like when you thermal some stones, it'll change the color.
Right.
Would this not get as hot as thermaling will, so it won't change the color?
Right, yeah, it's not as hot. Okay. Yeah, right. It shouldn't be changing the color of anything. The, again, if I can do this right. Yeah. So this one here, the only reason that the color changed is because he wanted us to clean up the stone itself. So after we did the engraving of the name, we took all the vellum off and stuff and actually hit the whole stone with the sandblasted to kind of clean it up. So just a little difference there. But you can see how pronounced that is, and maybe even on some of the stones wherever they went. Just pass that one around just to show you kind of how deep that is in there. It does make a difference when you're way away, 40 feet away and on the street. You want to be able to see them kind of thing. So.